Our next talk will be the power of good red teaming infrastructure. Please welcome Sandra Bardón.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Dobar dan. Good evening. Thank you, Milos and Jelena, for allowing me to be here for my third time. I'm super happy to be here for the 11th anniversary. And before starting my presentation, I really want just to say something about some friends that I really would love to be here, but unfortunately for many reasons, different reasons, they cannot be here, and especially to one of them that I really would love just to be here, but I really, really, really miss you. And especially, I want to dedicate this talk to my cousin. He's younger than me, but she's very inspirational. I'm very proud of her. And she's her birthday, and she just sent me a message that I didn't expect about that. Hey, Sandra, you're a superwoman. Just spread your work and spread your word with the rest of people, and you will be signed. So I really want just to have a really big applause for her because she's a super nice person. So thank you everyone, to all of you, to be here for my talk, the last talk of today, I guess. So I guess most of you can be outside just to drink beer or whatever, or rakia, but you're here, so really, really thank you. I really want just to talk about the powerful of a red team, a really good red team infra, right? At least until today, who knows tomorrow. So, how many of you knows about this kind of message? How many of you has been playing PS5? Only one? Yeah, three, two? Only? Really? I cannot believe it. Who knows what is cyberpunk? Okay, much better, much better. So probably this is so familiar to you. I really sorry about the sound because I really love it, but we have suffered something with the sound now. But to me, it has been not this specifically game. It's based on a really very old game. Oh, thank you. In a very really old game. That probably most of you, if you're just as old as me, that we have been getting fun when we were just kids. And everything was based on the settings. So here in Cyberpunk, here in 2025, in the PS5 as well, everything is based on settings as well as in the red team. So this is the analogy, at least to me. So I'm Sandra Bardón. I don't know if you know me from previous BalCons, but I'm cybersecurity officer right now in UN. My core is red teaming, exploitation, reversing as well, pen testing. But I have to recognize that before than that, where I was working in NATO Cyber Defense Center of Excellence as well, leading many kind of exercise in the red team field, in the offensive part. But previously to that, when I was working in the MOD, the Ministry of Defense in Spain, apart from being part of the offensive units, I was part of the blue team as well, and I consider that's quite important just to be in both sides, right? Just to know much better how to defend, how to attack. So knowledge is power at the end. So I have been in threat hunting as well, threat intel, forensics, reversing, and so on, right? Almost like well, more than 17 years of experience in cyber. When I'm just writing this, it's like I'm feeling like quite older, I have to say. But my main passion, it's my core expertise in cyber that has been related to different kind of exercises. Right now in UN, I mostly, not only, but I mostly train really high-level people, the C-level people, just to be prepared, just to face any kind of incidents that can be cyber or can be a natural disaster. But as well as I'm involved still in red team exercises. I'm still a core red team member in the biggest exercise in the world about red team and blue team exercise. Who knows here in the audience what is lock shields? Okay, I know many people around it. So it's a really challenging exercise, but it's not only about the technical side, it's as well about the operational level and in the strategic level as well. But in the red team, it's extremely stressful, and we have to impersonate real threats right now, and we have to improve and improve and improve day by day, just to impersonate like a real threat actor, right? So right now the talk is around the red team, the main infra related to the different C2, and some of the EDR evasion, and some recommendation from my humble opinion. Yesterday, when I was talking with someone I don't see, yeah, you're here. Yesterday night at the speakers' dinner, I was talking with a person who is a pen tester, and we were having a really nice talk about the difference of red team and pen testing. And right now, because at least to me, everyone is doing red teaming right now, and to me, that's not true. So, for you, what's the difference between red team and pen testing? Please, I need your collaboration, okay? It's like 9:23 p.m. in the night, so who wants to tell me, or who wants to share with us what is the difference between pen testing and red teaming? Yeah, please.
Blue team.
Can you develop a little bit more?
No blue team in pen test.
That's true. What's more?
Different work cases.
Sorry?
Different work cases. The one works every 1 week, and next company, and the other is in the same company the whole life, whatever, different time.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
How much time is spent with the agent?
Yeah, sure. It's related to, right? What's more? Yep. Sorry for running up.
In a red team exercises, defenders tries to kick you out. But in a pen tester side, nobody mess with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree with all of you, but I want to add something more. At least in my humble opinion and expertise, many organizations are just looking for compliance, do the vulnerability management. So we need to patch today and the day before and so on, and do pen tests, right? Pen test, it's about scanning vulnerabilities, exploit those vulnerabilities, and what's more, do the report, right? Who is taking care about emulate a real threat actor? That's the real issue or the real phase. I'm so sorry. That's every organization should take care of. So this is a nice example that I have been looking for. I hope you enjoy. Can we get the sounds on, please? No?
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, cool. Demo effect. Well, at least I have selected to have like subtitles. So please read the subtitles. So at the end, they are looking for what is money laundering in the dictionary, right? Because they don't know anything about it. So it's exactly the same that in an organization. If you don't know the real threat actor, you cannot defend in the same way, right? So you really know where are the different actions that they can do just to defend exactly in the same way. So, at least in my opinion, I used to hear about that many organizations just take care about phishing campaigns. We are doing a lot of phishing campaigns because users are blaming about the clicking on different links and so on, but we are so protected about it. We are doing compliance in different procedures and policies and blah, blah, blah. Like 4 days ago, I read a post in LinkedIn about a friend in the field that we're talking about this, the logs. We usually, organizations are just logging everything, and we are storing a lot of terabytes. When something happened, who knows what exactly we need to look for, right? It's like a kind of black box that is bigger and bigger and bigger, that's all, right? Related to vulnerability management, we need to patch from yesterday better than today, that's all. I was leading vulnerability management team. Wow. I was fighting with everyone, mainly, and with everyone in IT. But at the end, after every fight, nothing changed. That's a reality, that's a truth. And many other organizations think that, no, we are paying a lot of licenses of many different kind of defenses, so we are so protected, and that's all. Or we have a SOC, so we are so safe. Who is taking care? Who is just trying to research a little bit of the latest threat actors and so on? Usually in the red team, we used to use the Mitre attack framework. Who knows what it is? I expect more people, please. Please, everyone. Well, in the red team, we used to use the Mitre attack platform just to impersonate all the tactics, techniques, and procedures that any kind of APT group or cybercriminal can just use, not use, can just do in our organization, right? In real, it's something that I was talking with you yesterday night, that I had the pleasure just to work with Mitre and with the attack platform, even though I didn't know anything about this platform. It was in 2019, if I'm not wrong, because I just was feeding in a cybersecurity exercise in NATO in Poland. I just was feeding with my red team, because I was leading the red team just there, but we just selected some really key people in the team just to impersonate some actions and some tags of the most common APTs groups to feed the platform, just to identify and analyze the different kind of tactics, techniques, and procedures. So a red team, at least in my humble opinion, should impersonate all of the TTPs that are covered in the platform. So at the end, the red team is success if an analyst in the blue team cannot make any difference if you are a real attack, if you are a real APT, or you are part of the red team, or if you are doing any red team activities, right? That's the real difference to me between pen testing and red teaming. Pen testing is just you act and do like different vulnerability scanning, exploits, all of the vulnerabilities, if so, with some known exploits. But in the case of a red team, is related to the time as well, for sure. But you have a ROI at the end with the client. So the time is limited as well in some cases. but you have to impersonate the real actions of a real APT, right? So, at least to me, red team should, well, first of all, for sure, know the tools, customize all of them. We don't have, we cannot use them with the defaults. We need to change the rename functions or unused code strings and so on, because how many of you has been using SQL map? Have you been just sniffing the traffic? Just to see where it's on the wire? SQL map version ta-ta-ta? It's logged. So if you can just change it, you are changing the IOCs. So probably you are doing something more to try to not evade, but at least just to not get on the first attempt, on the first shout, right? So it's quite important just to see the actions on the blue team side to act as a real red team. So, just based on that, how can we customize different command and controls? How many of you have been using different command and controls? Okay, most of you. Well, this is an old table that I wanted to share with you, and probably you are asking yourself that it's an old table, I don't like it. But I have been just checking the URL this really early morning, and they have been just building a spreadsheet on Google Docs, because it's growing and growing and growing, and now they have like identified, I think, 100 command and controls right now. Just there is Silver, Cobalt Strike, Covenant, many others. So I'm going just to focus a little bit at the beginning on Cobalt Strike. How many of you knows what is Cobalt Strike? Wow, that's much better. Or not. Because if anyone knows what is Cobalt Strike, we are out, right? Because probably the defenders, the blue team, knows perfectly how to, as we usually say in Spain, because I didn't know it. I didn't mention, but I am from Spain. And when we write a very, very long queries, we say that we write a chorizo, right? So if we write a chorizo, it's like you know exactly what you are looking for. In the case of the Cobalt Strike, it's something that is happening right now, because it's used by many of US governments, large business, and many organizations in the different kind of conflicts right now, as you already know. But mainly, it's a platform just to simulate some exercises, or just to execute some red team operations, right? It was firstly in 2012 developed uniquely by Rafael Much. I had the pleasure just to collaborate with him during 2 to 3 years in Logshields in the red team. And at the beginning, he was the unique person in the business, in the company, in the organization. But then it was bought by Fortra in 2025 years ago. I have to say that every single team server, the cost is $3,500. And then, when Fortra just bought the company, the price was immediately increased to almost $6,000. But surprisingly, I have been taking all of this information this really early morning, and the price has been reduced to the original one. I don't know why. Probably because there is a really big black market, as probably you already know. But to be honest, all of the black market about Cobalt Strike, it's with some gifts to you. Of course, that's it. So, probably this is so common to you. A common pen test C2 infra, that is the targets, internet, some domain associated, and the team server, right? A common red team infra example is exactly the same, but with different team servers, so different domains, and with, in some cases, some different proxies or redirectors in front of every single team servers, just to redirect all the traffic to the specific domain with the specific SSL certificate, right? So let's talk about the tires. Who knows anything about tires here? Okay, so probably, I mean, this rule applies to everyone in the life. If you have all the eggs in the same basket, you will lose, definitely. So mainly we can just classify the different tires in three: the interactive, short hold, and long hold. All of the tires cannot talk between each other for a reason. If you want to be detected, you need to be very careful. So the tire one, the interactive, can only talk with the short hold, and the short hold can only talk with another short hold or with a long hold, and the long hold can only talk with a long hold, right? So usually the interactive is just to do a web delivery for malware and so on. The short hold is just to be less interactive, but at least just to, for instance, privilege escalation. And in the case of the long hold is for DNS listeners and so on, just to get the persistence, but for many, many hours, at least one day, 24 hours, right? So the deployment of every tire must be independently of each of the rest of them. So what is the first time that you will need to do in the case of the red team infra? So get valid and really creative domain names, the corresponding SSL certificates. Please don't use something really cheap or free, because at the end, well, it doesn't make sense if you are in a real operations, right? Get the proper virtual private servers or on host as you wish, and install and configure the different command and control in each of them. Why I'm telling you use the different VPS? For instance, in Amazon, CTO, Digital Ocean, Linode, there are many, many, many others. Because my recommendation is just to use the API and just you script everything, just in case any of the different command and controls or listeners or team servers that you are developing in any VPS, if they are out, you can just down and up the next one in just time of seconds, I will say. So be prepared just to change the strategy in case of everyone is totally fire, right? So something that I used to use are the profiles. Because when a blue team is trying to detect anything, what do you think that is the first thing that they are just seeing? Correct? It's the traffic. It's the syncs that we are doing over the network, over the wire, right? So if we modify the different IOCs that we are doing over the wire, probably the blue team, they don't know exactly what they are looking for exactly, right? So there are some options that we can just modify: the sleep time, the jitter, user agents, the certificates, and many other kind of options. So this is just a screenshot of a configuration of a listener in CobbleStrike, where you can just modify the stager, the get, the post, and the certificate, right? But my recommendation always is just to randomize everything. There is a really good GitHub, as usual, in everything, from blue screen of Jeff, that I was using often, but my recommendation is just you, based on that, because you can just base on different GitHubs, repositories, and so on, but just create your own. Just use that to modify everything on the different profiles in Cobalt Strike, just to randomize everything, but based on your customization, I will say. So this is just a video about that I was using the last time about to randomize the profiles. Not just one. I was creating many of them. And I can just see the different logs that everything looks quite okay, but I just obtained some warnings about the key store, for sure, related to the signing on the different binaries, DLL, executables, and so on. So probably in some cases, well, I strongly recommend just to fix that part. So as it executes the C2 link, you can just see the output that you were able just to see on Wireshark or any other network traffic analyzer. What is the post and what is the get that you are sending over the wire, that you will be sending over the wire when you set up that kind of listener with that specifically profile. So as you can just see, the key store is missing, so I just create a specific script just to generate different certificates related to different profiles that I can just select afterwards in the key of Cobalt Strike, right? So I was just generating some of them just to select, in any case, which one is most related to the profile that I have been generating. So randomizing everything is key. So this is my previous red team C2 infra, I will say. So as you can just see, you can just see different team servers, some of them interactive, some of them short hold, and some of them long hold. The interactive is mainly for the web delivery, and in some cases for HTTP listener. The time is related to the time that the beacon is calling back to the team server, right? So in an interactive mode, should be 0 or close to 0. In case of a short hold, in my case, it's related to 1 minute, just to get the call back from the beacon. And in the case on the long hold, is much, much longer, right? Usually, I use the short hold for just to get the foothold, and just to, in some cases, to get privilege escalations, and in some cases, some persistence. But just after that, I usually send the beacon back to the long haul listener, to the long haul team server, command and control team server. Why? Because just with that, the beacons are just more longer than usual in the interactive or in the short hold. Just because if you are monitoring the wire, that's much, much difficult just to get a path to detect it, right? If you see on the jitter, who once here knows what is a jitter? Okay, I'm going to ask you.
Yes, it's a time difference, so the beacon doesn't every minute in every 60 seconds beacon up to the team server. So you put in a jitter, so it is not that detectable as the distribution is not every 60 seconds, but off by a few seconds every time, whatever you put into jitter.
Totally right. So if you set up the timer just to call back from the beacon to the team server, in 1 minute, if you set up a jitter of 20, for instance, you will get the beacon back to the team server like 20% less of 1 minute and 20% more of 1 minute to get the beacon back randomly between that window frame to the team server. So it's like kind of randomly getting back and go and forward to the cell, right? But we need to, I really would love to customize everything. I really hate the defaults. So we can just increase the technical aspect, the intelligence, the appearance, and everything. So, what kind of listeners do we have in CobbleStrike? HTTP and HTTPS related to IPv4 and IPv6 either, via CDN, and we can just have like multiple IPs over the same listener with different kind of connections, I will say. I strongly recommend just to use the failover 1M instead of the round robin. Who knows the difference? Any of you? The round robin, it connects to the IP and the DNS related one by one, just to check if everyone is up and ready. The problem here, it's quite useful for the red team, but the problem here and the issue is that just in one time, the blue team can just detect all the IPs and the DNS related. So if we use the failover 1M, the listener is trying to connect to the first IP and DNS related, and if it goes well, it stops. If something fails, because the blue team has been detected that, and they have been blocking that, we will go to the second one. So you have like many kind of options just to do it. If not, you are burned out in just the first attempt. And for sure, you have like listener with SMB, TCP bind, DNS, and many others. So in the case of HTTP and HTTPS listeners, they are like the most common ones. You need to take care about the certificates, because if the certificate if it's invalid, the script deliveries just will complain. For the stagings and tasking host, I strongly recommend just to use DNS names instead of IPs directly, because it's like more ops utils. And for sure, it's something that is possible in the case of IPv4 and IPv6, in the case of the listener, the same port, but if you get the beacon back, you will never know who is referring to IPv4 or IPv6. So I strongly recommend just to make a difference, just to know exactly what you are doing and what the beacon is connecting to. And when using DNS different kind of names with both IPv4 and IPv6, Windows, in this case, prefers always IPv6. In the case of the DNS are usually common used for the stealthy modes. So just not to get persistence, but to be stealthy or persistent, like to get the beacon back in 24 hours, or at least in some hours, right? So my only recommendation here is just to check every time, just with dig or NS lookup, what is the DNS resolution? Because if you haven't been set up properly in the randomization, as I told you before, of the different profiles, if you don't customize the IOCs, the default IOCs of the DNS entry is 0.0.0.0. So that's quite common just to see that you are using CobbleStrike. So here is just to let you know that modify everything and just to randomize everything. Okay, who knows what is a CDN and why it's so important in red teaming? Okay? Yeah, let us know.
Content delivery.
Yep.
It's important for.
Oh, sorry. As far as I know, it's important to minimize latency across the world, if that's what you mean.
Yes, but with some details. Anyone wants to add something more? Yeah, please. Here? I'm so sorry because you are running a lot. Okay.
It's hard to block
Why?
because a lot of traffic is using CDNs.
Okay, I partially agree. Okay, Hetty?
So on the one hand, it's a CDN large traffic, and a lot of websites use it. On the other hand, you can hide your reverse servers or your team servers with it, and no company gonna block CDNs, because then the whole company can't use the internet usually. Plus, you're hidden your infrastructure behind it, and it's often also for free.
That's the point. Thank you, Hetty. Well, thanks everyone, because all of you were right, but with the addition of some of information, at least to me, it's complete. So, CDN are legitimate services, right? So where a common organization, a common infrastructure in any organization, or a common blue team, shouldn't block any CDN. They are free in some cases, and they are not free in other cases, but mostly they are free. I'm quite agree with that. But we can use the CDN just to serving malware, just to shelter different Cobalt Strike ports for active scanning, but not only for that, for the listeners and to domain fronted malware. So you will see here in a very, very simple diagram, the target is trying to reach the CDN, that is a legitimate service, but at the same time is providing some traffic to our Kali machine, the team server, and so on. So at the end, it's like they shouldn't block the CDN traffic, because if they want to access the legitimate services, they cannot. So at the end, the CDN is acting as a reverse proxy, right? It's quite simple. So this is kind of demo that I just record from the last red team exercise. And I want just to show you how easy it is just to set up a listener with different kind of requirements or configurations, right? So we can just create from scratch, or we can just say it's one of them. I used to set up like different hosts with different profiles that I used to create, as I showed you before, randomizing all of them. So I can just select one by one, dependently on the different configurations. I used to create like 4 different listeners in one team server. HTTP, HTTPS, on IPv4 and IPv6, and one of them in domain fronting. So the configuration is a little bit different, depends on the characteristics of each of them. The only difference is in the domain fronting, that I'm not using like as many hosts as in the normal ones in IPv4 and IPv6. But at the end, I'm binding ports in the latest one. So it's quite easy. You can just modify on the wild, and you will see that the different beacons are still up and running. In any case, that I'm just modifying some of them. So let's go a little bit more up in the difficult configuration. It's true that in the last log shell, in the last red team exercise that I have been involved in, Cobalt Strike has been working quite cool, but it's really well known by everyone. So at the end, it's not working properly. We need to use something new, something more, something that not nobody, but at least not everyone knows about it. So let's talk about 20. How many of you knows about 20? It's in the list that I was provided to you before in the C2, different C2 nowadays. Okay, so nobody. Cool. 20, it's pretty similar to Cobalt Strike, I have to say. It's developed in Estonia. They are really, really good red teamers, really good developers. It's in the list, as I told you before, on the C2 matrix. It's Java-based, in Dockers as well, and so on. And it's EDR friendly. Some of the, characteristics of this C2 framework is that it's plugin based. You can just use your own script because it's it's based on REST API. They have like two different versions: the base one, so the free one, and the commercial one. The difference mainly is that the different agents that you have implemented into the C2. For sure, in the commercial one, you will be caught by most of the EDRs, for sure. And in the commercial one, they are always developing and going on different tactics and techniques. They have like BOF support. The listener are really, really quite similar to Cobalt Strike, I have to say. And one thing that I really love is that you can just change. I'm gonna just show you different kind of videos that I just was recording in the last red team exercise just to show you. But you can just modify and customize on the wild everything, and it's working immediately. So you don't need to shut down and restore the different team server. So everything is on the wild, right? Here, you can just see the URL of the documentation. It's pretty well documented, I have to say. If you don't know how to do anything, just go to the documentation, everything is just there. About the listener, the different agents, about everything. So, this is just a really small example where you can just see on the text part that an agent is configured just with two different IP addresses for the different kind of attempts of connections, and with three different hosts with different header names, right? You can just see here. So it's just changing one by one, and you can just select failover 1AM, as I told you before, or the different kind of connections that you want to connect to. So a really brief demo about the 20. This is like it looks like. You have agents, listeners, the file to host. You can just create a new listener based on the different kind of standard ones, but you can just customize everything. You can just set up on HTTP or HTTPS the IP address that you are going just to offer with the listener and the different port. In the case of HTTPS, for sure, you need to specify the key store and so on. So just to create, there is an error. Who can just tell me what is the error?
Port is occupied.
Yeah, sure. That's quite easy, right? But why is not blaming about the different those two? That it was already created, because now we have three. Huh. Let's continue with that. I will answer later. So here we can see that we can just customize mostly everything. The URA, please avoid everything about the defaults. Remember that part, always, everywhere. So forget about payload ID, just customize with everything that you want, with login ID or whatever. And we can just stop and play some of them just on the wild. So it's quite user-friendly, I will say. Just you see, you can just edit on the wild as well on Windows and Linux listeners, and the different kind of configuration that you can just set it up. The sleep, the jitter, and so on. Okay, so really brief introduction about a normal executable. You can just copy paste. You can just click on just on the app. An executable is trying to download the executable and execute it in a CMD. So you can just go directly to the target. Okay. Directly to the target and download the executable, save like mouse.x, but it's got it by Elastic, right? What can we do? It's true that I told you before that there is a commercial version. It's exactly the same that in Cobalt Strike. In Cobalt Strike, I don't know if you have been playing with, but well, everything is just you test and something like that. If you don't pay the whole $3,500 for that, so you can just get something just to customize everything. I mean, you can just customize everything if you know how to do it. But in case that you need some help, for instance, at this case, you can just go, instead of a normal executable, you can just do a debug executable. It's exactly the same with curl. You just download. This is just kind of clicking, but at the end, in the backend, you can just modify everything, and I will show you later. But in the case of a debug, this is quite interesting. Just with a change of the binary, you execute. Well, this is not the now. Yes. Just with a modification of the binary. This is the debug mode. You can just execute. You don't need to copy paste everything because you are just hosting in with a different ID. You just need to modify the ID directly, and you will see that when you are executing, now you are going to execute exactly the same example as before, but in a debug mode, you will see that let's wait for a second. Nothing is happening, right? Elastic is not seeing anything. And if we see on our agents, we see that we got a shell on that target. So it's not got by the Elastic EDR, right? So let's talk about something that we have been briefly talking before about the jitter, right? Something that is quite important for the different EDRs, in this case for Elastic, is the beaconing malware, right? So it's the time, the statistics related to the time of the beaconing back to the different team servers, to the different listeners, right? If you see the first graphic, it connects not randomly, it connects like a specific time, right? So something as a red teamer or as a cyber criminal or as a IPT group is that we need to customize the infra just to randomize that part, as we were talking about before. So everything is based on different kind of statistics and different kind of features, I will say. So just with the help of the jitter, we can just try to modify many things. But what if I tell you, this is something that we discovered some months ago, and it's quite funny. Let's see the video. I'm just creating an executable with a specific size of the binary of 1 megabyte. This is still with Elastic. And I'm just trying to just modify the length. I'm just serving the binary, trying to download. And now we are going to execute. So the alert is ongoing, right? It's caught by Elastic. Let's go to, I mean, this is a black point that it's stupid, to be honest. But if we modify the length as 90 megabytes, for instance, just to try, let's see what happens. Only modifying that. We just name the binary as a layer payload, blah, 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 create. We are hosting the new one, accessing that. And there you can just see the different length, right? And if we just click it, not only on the command line, nothing, it's alert. And I got the beacon back, the listener, only modifying the size on a specific size of the length of a binary. It's as stupid as it is, but it's true. So, and you can just see that here it's beaconing back on the listener. So, let's move to the EDR detection. Well, EDR detection at the end, at the beginning are like really close to AV antivirus, right? At the beginning. So it's based on signatures and Potter. Quite familiar to us, right? From many, many years ago. And as well as they do some heuristical analysis in the case of statistics and in dynamic mode with some different sandboxes. And in some cases, they use the behavioral on the different operating systems just to know how to act, how they act, the malware and the different binaries on the different operating systems. And in some cases, they are recently highlighted with artificial intelligence, right? So probably most of the organizations are quite sure that they are quite protected because they have been deploying different EDRs on the different part of the infrastructure of the organization. But at the end, it's something that we have been seeing that just with the changing of the size, of the length of a binary, it's as easy as it is. You are telling me that probably someone is, okay. So this is like the last part of the demos that I went just to show you, that selecting just one of the listeners that I created before is as simple on this command and control, just to click on some of them. We can just select on just to execute on the CMD or on a PowerShell or something like that. But here, you can just immediately change. If you know anything about reversing and exploiting, you will see the allocate method, the virtual alloc probably is so familiar to you. Not only the length, but as well as the type, the different domains, all of the characteristics that it's reversing, you can just try to modify, and it's like a try on, just to see if you can just bypass the different defenses modes. But here in this command and control is as quite easy as you can just modify on the wild. You can just save and launch the different binaries to connect to the different listeners that you have. So, my habit recommendations. As a red team leader, I used to have 2 different briefings with the rest of the team. One in the very early morning, just to spread the strategy for that day, and one in the afternoon, because probably everything has been changed. So, just to set up the strategy, just to have the feedback from the different operators, from the different key people in the red team, just to modify, in my case, just to work over the night, just to change the strategy for the next day, right? So we need to adapt to every tactic and techniques and knowledge of the different blue teams, right? Just to make their life really difficult. So my recommendation always is just to reduce the callback from the beacons to the listeners. So make sure what exactly you are doing. I always develop an internal laboratory just to test everything before sending and executing on the targets, right? With different kind of EDRs, antivirus, and different defenses techniques, I will say, no methodologies. And OPSEC. We really used to forget the OPSEC, but this is quite important. How many of you has been just writing netstab -ANTB on Linux instead of Windows? So this is a quite common issue that we need to first think and then act, right? Because if you just send this kind of command, we are just killed on a second. So even though we have been working a lot in the infrastructure, right? So avoid the defaults, take care about the firewall rules, avoid all the connections to our command and control, just block all of the ports in that. Please be stealthy. If you are in a red team campaign over some weeks, please take care about the weekends, about the nights. It's not so common just to get some traffic over the nights and over the weekends. So just take care about it. And manage appropriately the different interfaces in your Kali machine, in your team servers, and so on. So, some conclusions. This is something that the management, they don't know, well, almost anything. The planning of a red team is much more longer and important for a really good execution of the exercise. So it's not everything about just to send some malware and just to expect some actions from the blue team and ta-ta-ta. No, the planning and just to configure the infrastructure, it's much more longer time consuming than the execution. So it's something that we need to consider. At least this is my method for many, many years, participating in different kind of red team exercises and leading some of them. We need to be always hungry of new knowledge, researching, and so on. Tomorrow we will be cleverer than today. And of course, always surround yourself with vitamin people like you. So thank you very much. This is all from my side. Any questions?
Do any of you have questions?
I see one just there. Wow, you are running a lot.
I was wondering about the type of attack where you hide some kind of malware behind the CDN. Have you encountered that? Is that common?
Can you explain a little bit more? So just to To host malware, or what do you mean exactly?
Just to hide it behind something like Cloudflare, for example. Have you ever seen it in the wild? Like, is it common? Does it happen often? Or is it just a theoretical attack?
No, that's quite common, I have
really?
to say.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes, and that's the reason why in the red team we used to impersonate that kind of tactics and techniques. Because at the end, we are copying the different techniques that a real threat actor is using. So yeah, it's not only about configuring the different listeners, it's as well just to providing and hosting different malware and the spreading of the malware, of course. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I see two more here.
Yeah, thank you. Any tips to protect your phishing infrastructure against Google Workspace? Because I know that Google scans all the subdomains to find the indicators of compromise and so on. How to hide your infrastructure from being scanned by Google?
Well, that's a good question, but not only related to Google, related to Amazon as well, right? Because in case of that you have the whole infrastructure or some VPS on Amazon or on Google, you have some restrictions. But first of all, my recommendation is just to see the small sentence, I will say, the small errors in the contract with the provider. With Amazon.
I have to clear it.
In some cases, I have to say that probably you will get some unexpected results, that you are totally blocked by the provider. So in some cases, it's something that you cannot avoid. You must change the provider.
I mean something different. So I do have my phishing infrastructure configured. I have my phishing domains run. But once I send an email, Google follows this link, check for GoFish, for example, and block it.
Yeah.
How could I avoid it? I tried Turnstile thing with a CAPTCHA. Does it work?
Well, probably at the beginning it can work, but at the end, my recommendation is just to change. Have you read carefully the contract with Google? Your contract, I mean.
I don't have contract with Google.
Well, whenever that you are just buying some space or you are signing a contract, right? So the agreement, I will say, the agreement.
Okay.
So in the case of Amazon, in the case of Google, I really don't know. But my humble opinion is that it's quite similar to Amazon. So in the case of Amazon, for instance, it's something that you are being blocked, usually. And that's quite common. And in some red team exercises, you cannot use the Amazon infrastructure for that. So you can just use something more, because you are totally blocked from the provider at the end.
Okay, I will ask you after the talk.
Sure. And I think we have something more just there.
Have you found external CTO useful in adjusting for, Cobalt Strike?
Sorry, can you repeat it from the beginning?
External C2, which is a feature of Cobalt Strike.
What do you mean with external?
Like that you can make your own listeners, custom ones.
With Cobalt, you can just use the default listeners, but you can just customize as you wish. In the case of 20, you can just do as well.
Yeah.
In every single C2, you can just customize your own, well, not in every one, in all of them, but in most of them, you can just customize everything. In 20, you can just customize everything on the wild. In Cobalt, you can just customize as well. You have a scripting language specifically for that. But it's true that as is quite used, there are lots of knowledge around it. So you will be blocked like more easy than if you use another kind of C2. But in the case of 20 is not so well known. So I would recommend that. It's working really quite nice. But in any case, you can just check the URL that I just gave it to you at the very beginning, but I can just provide you later, that there is a Google spreadsheet just to see the different kind of 100 C2 and the different kind of characteristics, comparing all of them, just to see what is more beneficial to you. I hope I have answered your question.
I mean, external C2 specifically allows you to like make maybe custom beacons or like agents, but yeah.
Here
there's a lot of features,
everything.
yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any other question? Yep.
How do you deal with paranoid sysadmins blocking egress traffic or forcing people use explicit proxy servers with authentication?
Well, can you, because
Okay.
I'm listening the karaoke now, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
How do you deal with paranoid sysadmins blocking egress traffic, forcing outgoing traffic to be using an explicit proxy server, and services to be authenticated?
Well, in the case of Windows,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because it depends on Windows and Linux. But in the case of authenticated services, if I have understood correctly, well, everything depends on. It doesn't rely, at least in my opinion, on the command and control. It does rely on the different tactics and techniques that you are using against privilege escalation and persistence. That's not related to the command and control. That's on the infra. That's related more on the techniques that you are using against privilege escalation. That is related to authenticated services and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have like a very quick question.
I think we have something more. Really sure? Okay. If not, I will be here and I can just answer you everything that you want.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys.